Welcome to the Blindside Blitz, where the hits come fast and the takes come harder. The NFL playoff picture is coming into focus, and the action is heating up more and more every week. The Broncos and the Rams have punched their tickets to the playoffs. The Chiefs on the outside looking in, seeing Patrick Mahomes having that sad injury. Also, the Buffalo Bills rally behind the Josh Allen to storm back and knock off the Patriots here in a statement win. Every snap matters. Every result shifts the landscape, and we're all breaking it all down. Plus, we're diving into fantasy football strategy and betting angles, all the ones you need to know with fantasy football and sports betting guru Iggy Gilbert. Joe, let's get it going here. It's the Blindside Blitz. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Blindside Blitz here. I'm Jim McFee, and right there's Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Blitz Nation? Welcome back for yet again some more football talk. And we have a special guest, a guy that we hold near and dear to our hearts, a guy that this is going to be his third time on the show. And got to be honest, Iggy, the fantasy football aficionado that he is, the man that is the ultimate IDP nemesis to you all. Iggy, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me, Jim. What's up, guys? Glad to be back here with the Blindside. It's always a fun time.
Absolutely. We're gonna get into a little fantasy, but I gotta talk to you about your Packers too. They're one of the teams I thought were in the best early on in the season, but since late they've kind of been up and down. Still, I think they're a real good team, playoff team, but now Micah Parsons going down. How confident are you in your Packers here moving forward into the playoffs?
Hey, Jim, that's a good question. Yeah, I initially after it happened, it was the end of the world. Sky's falling. It was 2014 NFC Championship versus Seattle, kind of feeling for Green Bay Packer fans. They know what I'm talking about. And that's a huge blow. Tackle before that. I don't know. The NFC open, but I don't know that it's that open. But I do expect them to play well, probably make the playoffs just because they got a 2-game advantage on Detroit. So they'll still make the playoffs, and they're going to have to get it done with offense. Go get Jordan Love, kind of take his overs because they're not going to be able to stop too many people because they're not going to generate pass rush. So I still believe, but the hopes are dampened. Life comes at you quick. Like you said, the blitz hits you quick, and the hits keep coming, and you got to just roll with them. It's just you see what happened. They took him off the field. The game kept going. So that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm hoping for him too. I mean, I really like what that team is doing and the coach there, everything that they're built around. I think they have all the talent in the world to take it far in the playoffs. Early on, I think when we talked to you, it might even begin at the early beginnings of the season. We joked about I had been at a party and somebody drafted Trevor Lawrence first overall with their first pick in the first round, and I laughed my balls off. And but if you look at the way he's played the last couple of weeks, though, like 44 points or so, I think even last week, fantasy wise, he looks like a pretty good pickup, at least right now. What do you think about Trevor Lawrence right now for some teams here, maybe trying to go deep in their playoff run?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a fantasy football darling. I have him in one of my leagues. That's my super flex, and he's obviously going to be starting. Liam Cohen's the real deal. Once you surround a guy with good wide receiver talent, a running back that's going off, and a good coach, turns out a first overall pick isn't so bad. So it's just something to keep in mind. But I think he will take teams to the fantasy champion. Tough draw this week against the Broncos. That's going to be the ultimate. That could be a positional battle for first in the AFC even. So I'm really excited for that game.
Absolutely.
Right on. Hey, Iggy, I got to ask you, with with Micah Parsons going down, obviously, and now he's not going to be around for the Packers for their playoff run. Can you foresee somebody kind of taking that torch on and kind of making more of an impact now, maybe like a Rashawn Gary, for that defense to kind of like uplift the defense, even though obviously Micah Parsons, their gem, is now not going to be with them. Do you see someone else kind of stepping up to the plate?
Yeah, Joe, that's a good question. I think you could look at Lucas Van Ness. If they're going to use him, they kind of use him more to stop the run. But Edgerrin Cooper, believe it or not, kind of gets a boost to me because he's been sent on blitz packages before coming out of that linebacker position. And Micah Parsons was lining up in the A gaps, the B gaps, the C gaps. He's lining up all over the place. So they could run some inside blitzes, particularly now that Walker's healthy. Quay Walker's still one of the elite linebackers in the NFL. So they can kind of offload some of that responsibility to Quay and use Cooper as a, more of a edge, not an edge rusher, but a quarterback pressure guy. And he's a do-it-all linebacker too. So I think Cooper's honestly probably the guy you're going to be looking at for somebody to start making some big plays. Possibly Keyshawn Nixon. They kind of line him up outside. He's been seeing a lot more cornerback work, but they might line him up more than nickel. Bring some pressure with him as well. They're going to have to get creative. That's the bottom line. That's what it's going to take.
Right.
Hey, Joe, the next one here.
So we brought you on. We hyped you up a little bit with fantasy football and everything. I gotta ask, the way the season has gone this year, there's been ups, there's been downs, there's been downright tragedies in the fantasy world, whether it be injuries, whether it be bye weeks, and you just can't seem to find that guy. Now we're into the playoffs. Now we're into the nitty-gritty of the season where not everybody made the playoffs. We get that. But for those that are still alive and those that are still moving on to the next round, do you have any kind of like advice for them in terms of maybe like how they approach the postseason versus the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, I do a show with another FSWA inaugural Hall of Fame member, Greg Kellogg, and one series he always has, a good friend with William, is studs to sit, and every week they lay down a stud to sit. It's so crazy, right? But I advanced in all 5 of my leagues last week. I tinkered with lineups. I took out Lad McConkey. I put in everybody else. I put in Swift, although he had a questionable designation. I put in Jacobs. So I just would say treat your lineup a little bit more like a DFS lineup. To take out maybe a guy that's gotten you here to this point, but you're going to have to do that based on the matchups. Look at the injuries. Like, do you have Travis Kelce? All right, is he going to be that good with Gardner Minshew as the quarterback? These are things you're going to have to be willing to do. Opportunity favors the bold, okay? So be bold with your lineup decisions. Treat it more like a DFS lineup. Hey, this guy has only played 1 game for me because I needed him on a bye week, but I think he might be able to go off this week because of the matchup. You could be looking at, Keenan Allen. You could be looking at Trey Harris for the Chargers playing against the Cowboys. Okay. Have faith in some of these guys. We're into the tail end of the season. Everything's there. They know the playbook. They know the audibles. They know all the information to succeed. Maybe trust the person that you haven't played that much.
It's interesting too, because like I noticed like on the free agent wire in my league, there's a couple of guys that kind of stood out to me that I'm kind of surprised that they're still available, but like Jalen Coker from Carolina and Romeo Doubs actually is available. And the fact that Christian Watson went down with an injury, not coming back, Romeo Doubs might reclaim his reps and really kind of help out a team. So if you're, let's just say, for example, if you're a team that now has, Rashee Rice in their lineup, and maybe you're not as comfortable, like you said, with a different quarterback, do you turn your focus? Maybe you bring in a Romeo Doubs because of the situations that have changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the cool thing about it is the free agency pool, the waiver pool, less people are competing for players, So I think you got to be bold, like we just talked about, Joe. If you see Coker available, yeah, he's only getting 4 targets, but he's been more reliable than Ted McMillan lately. And Carolina's probably not going to just
Yep.
run away with the game anymore where they can just run it. They're going to have to pass it. So I like Coker. I've been on Dobbs all year. I've been telling people, particularly when Reed and Watson were out, I was like, look, this guy's the alpha. You need to go get him. Love still looks at him on, like, when he's getting pressured, Love will look for Dobbs. He won't go through the progression. He'll still look for Dobbs because he trusts him so much. Now, Jalen Reed is back. That's something you're going to have to consider, but I think Dobbs is a great pickup. Parkinson for the Rams. If Devontae Adams is out, he led the team in receptions. Yeah, it's a tight end, but who cares? You know, you want the volume. Somebody's going to get 12 passes, and the possible MVP is the one throwing it. Let's not overthink it. Let's go get this guy. You know, if Drake London's out for for Atlanta, go take a look at Sills. The volume is there. He might be somebody that can get you over the break in Week 16.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense. Another thing too is we all know that you're big into IDPs. Now, for those that are still alive and are into the IDP leagues, do you have any advice for them in terms of different defensive players? You know, what should you be targeting in the free agent wire for the postseason? Like, what's something that, like, where other league players can come in and say, hey, listen, this one position is pretty valuable. Maybe I want to stock up on that in the postseason.
I think, there's a lot of good value, but December football, guys, that means running, that means hitting, that means turnovers. I think you want guys that'll do this. You know, there's a reason running games and defenses win championships later in the season. The weather's getting colder. Quarterbacks maybe aren't reading as well. Injuries, like we talked about. So you want to stack up on positions where the snaps are going to be there. I'll give you some names. Avonte Maddox, Detroit. He's filling in for Brian Branch. I mentioned him last week. He came in and had a great game. Detroit's playing for a playoff position. They're playing some good teams coming up. Pittsburgh, I believe, Green Bay as well. One more. No, not Green Bay. Minnesota. So they're playing some pretty good secondary teams or passing teams coming up. So you go take a look at Avonte Maddox. And then here's another thing to consider, real quick, Joe, is Von Miller. He's going for personal records. He gets a couple more sacks. He's in the top 10. Now, Washington's not playing thing. Well, his snap crease has already gone up. He's gotten a sack in the past 2 games. Now, he lives and dies with that 1 sack. But if you're in a big sack league, go pick up Von Miller. I put him in 2 lineups. He did his job. I think he's going to have some opportunities to get more sacks and kind of get in that top 10. And if this is his last one go around, take a look at it. Calais Campbell, you need a defensive tackle. This guy's going for he blocked a field goal last week. There's some guys going for some, personal records, NFL records. Get those guys in the lineup.
Yeah, Iggy. So we've talked about IDPs. We've talked about, your PPRs, your standard leagues, that type of thing for some help. Now let's focus on a little bit with something that I feel like not a lot of people talk about when it comes to fantasy, and that's weather conditions and personnel situations. When you're going into now the postseason, or you're already in the postseason for that matter, how much should you be paying attention to the weather and possibly some of these players that might be sitting down on the bench?
Yeah, you've got to pay attention to it. All factors, football and fantasy sports in general are very dynamic. Some sports, hockey, basketball, the weather doesn't matter. Football, it does matter. Go look at some of these totals that have been played in cold weather games. Cleveland, you probably were relying on a couple people to do well. They got in that cold weather in Chicago, and they were down, and they basically quit. Buffalo's going to get another outdoor game. Orchard Park, Patriots, Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears, Seattle Seahawks. These are going to be teams with good fantasy football players that are going to be playing outside, and they're going to affect games, okay? Some quarterbacks can't cut it through the wind. Some can. Caleb Williams, Josh Allen, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers. These guys have proven they can cut it through the wind. Tua had trouble, didn't get any points until garbage time. Some indoor quarterbacks, we're going to see what C.J. Stroud, we're going to have to see what Justin Herbert can do. We're going to have to see what some of these guys can do against that. So that's something you have to take into effect. And then, some guys that have nothing left to play for, they're going to pull them. Arizona don't have anything to play for. They may look at their rookies. Saints may look at some of their rookies to see what they're going to do. That's something else you got to take into consideration, Joe. Like these new head coaches out of the playoffs, let me go look at some of this talent we haven't had time to look at. So you got to take that into consideration as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree totally, Iggy. Also, I have to come clean to you because I was in the playoffs for 1 week, and I gotta say, my team didn't do bad. I scored 149 points. Now, typically in the league that I play in, 149 is like an automatic win. It's a layup. But the unfortunate part was the fact that I played against frickin' Kyle Pitts, who had 45 points by himself and literally won the game for the guy that I was going up against. I mean, it sometimes, am I right, Iggy? Like there's some situations, no matter how much you prepare, weather conditions, personnel, injuries, the hot hand that you put in your lineup, no matter what you do, just sometimes it's just not in the cards for you.
Yeah, there's mismatches, and the truth is, these are professional athletes. These guys are going to have great games every while. Dawson Knox out of the blue had a kid. What did he do? Come out 2 touchdowns after that?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just certain
Yeah.
things you can't account for. Like I remember AJ Hawk talking about dad genes. He's like, once you get your kid, get those dad genes, and you start performing well. I never played professional football, but sometimes as a dad, I feel that. And yeah, dude, that's the beauty and the heartache of it, right? Somebody's going to have those games in the playoffs, and they're going to get you. And it's funny. Somebody told me a story. They had Pitts in the lineup, and they were like, "Hey, I didn't mean to leave Pitts in." After 1 or 2 minutes, the commissioner's like, "Hey, it's the playoffs. I'm sorry." Ended up going off and winning that match. That's the unpredictability of it. That's
Yeah.
why we love it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, for some of the people that are out of the playoffs, me included, looking forward to next season, what should you be taking? Like, I guess what I'm going to be asking is, should you be taking notes on some of the players that kind of excelled late in the season that you could see return back to that same team or is going to be on that same team for next year? Maybe kind of write it in your little book and like kind of keep that a secret to yourself for like next year's draft. So maybe you can pick a few of those players late in the rounds.
I would take it with a grain of salt. Like you said, put it down, make a note of it.
Mhm.
But there's so many injuries. The coaching personnel, I'm just such a big coaching guy. Why,
Okay.
why is Trevor Lawrence doing so well? The coaching improved drastically. Best coach he's ever had.
True.
And then last year, I think there was 14 offensive coordinators that switched positions or switched places or went on to head coaching jobs. And I believe there was 11 defensive coordinators. So you got to be careful. You could look at Kenneth Gainwell. Philadelphia Eagles never really used him right. I've been a big proponent of his, saying watch out for Kenneth Gainwell. He's going to do great things. He gets on Arthur Smith ran offense. It looks like a star. It looks like it could be an RB1 for every team. So coaching matters. So yeah, make a little list and make sure. Hey, did the coach stay the same? Did the quarterback stay the same? Did the offensive coordinator stay the same? Did the offensive line more or less stay the same? Okay, let's go take a look at this guy. And also, I would say, Joe, in Dynasty, true for rookies. These rookies, they're going to take about 10 or 11 weeks. Now you're starting to see it week 14, week 15. R.J. Harvey, Trayvon Henderson, just some of these guys just coming on because they got the playbook, they got the confidence of the coach. Those are the guys you really want to target. Harold Fanning, go get these guys if you can in Dynasty.
Yeah, Iggy, we just got a comment in our chat, and the question is, and this is definitely all right up your alley. He says, Burrow or Lamar in Week 16, 6 points per touchdown as of now. I have Lamar in, and which 2 wide receivers would you play in non PPR? Jefferson, Sutton, Jaden Reed, Rice, or Ibuka?
Even though Lamar's not running as much as I still got to go Lamar over Burrow. They're still playing for something meaningful. They're kind of getting back to health. And all it would take is one big run from Lamar rushing touchdown. I think he gets it. As far as the wide receivers go, you can't trust Justin Jefferson. I'm sorry. So I'm going to go
No.
Sutton and I'm going to go Reed here. Ibuka is falling off. Mike Evans looks like the true alpha there again. Rashid Rice, we talked about. No Patrick Mahomes. I'm sure he'll get volume, but I just would rather go with Reed, who I saw get volume last week. We know Watson's going to get out. And then Sutton, he just continues to ball with Bo Nix, one of his best games, big target guy. So give me Sutton, Reed, and Lamar.
Excellent. And that's
Yep.
from Ray Gamer. We appreciate the comment, Ray.
Absolutely. Yeah. Iggy, the with sports betting too, I know you're big into that too, and I know a lot of people follow you for that. So seeing some of these playoff games coming up now, and with a lot of different surprises too, with big games too, like with what Trevor Lawrence has even done, record breaking world, history here for the NFL with having 5 passing touchdowns with, one running touchdown. And do you see somebody like, is there a good prop bet this week that you see as a good set bet for somebody to do in week 16 here moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, when we go to look at the scenario, I think DeAndre Swift could have a good game at home against the Packers. So you might want to look at his touchdown prop. Kyle Monangai is kind of a playoff hero. People were able to pick him up, get a couple of good weeks out of him. But Swift was questionable basically those whole 2 weeks. Last week we saw the snap count almost 3-1 Swift to Monangai. So I like Swift against Green Bay's defense. They already ran pretty good against them. Now that was a formidable rush defense. They might try to clamp it on, but I just kind of think Chicago is going to play with a positive game script against my beloved Packers. So I expect to see a lot more from Swift, maybe a couple of dump offs as they forget who to check off. Used to that. And then also from another prop perspective, just take a look at Dalton Schultz, against I'm trying to think of the Texans opponent this week. I don't have it in front of me, but he led the team in targets. He led the team in receptions.
The Raiders.
I don't think that's going to change. The Raiders?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Raiders, you could probably fire up your tight end. The only thing that would hurt us is if that game gets out of hand. But Goddard had 2 touchdown catches, should have had 3 last week against Raiders. So fire up Schultz on a bet because his yardage is probably going to be low. Take the over on it.
Nice. Excellent. All right. Thanks, Iggy, for joining us. I know you're pressed for time.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy yourself on the Zamboni, man. I want to take a ride on one of those bad
I want to
boys
ride
right there, man. Look at that.
Yeah, dude.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I want to do it one time, man. Check it out.
Yeah, man.
We appreciate you out there. Yep.
I was just going to say, I work at a hockey rink. I know nothing about the NHL. I can name 3 or 4 players. I'm a football and basketball guy, so don't get it.
That's wild. Nice. Absolutely. The sports affiliation. Iggy, you want to plug something else too before we leave? I know you're involved in a lot of different things too. The hashtag FF7s and.
Yeah, dude, that fantasy football sevens, great charity league. We got it down to 24 teams. I'm always stoked for that. Sports affiliation, check it out. We got the Black and Blue FF preview. I do that with Andy Behrens, Greg Kellogg, JC, and myself. We each break down one team from the NFC North that we like. It's been really fun to make, so check that out. And then the IDP report comes out today, actually, on Fantasy Alarm. You can go check that out. I don't like to toot my own horn, but I've really hit the past 5 or 6 weeks on IDPs that have done well off the waiver wire. So make sure you go check that out as well.
All right, excellent. Nice. So thank you so much again for joining us. We'll be talking to you again soon. Enjoy yourself. All right.
Appreciate you, Iggy.
Night at work.
Hey, Jim, Joe, please have me back. Good. Have fun the rest of the season, guys. Take care.
All right, man. Later.
All right, there you go. Iggy, man. Iggy Gilbert. Again, he knows his stuff. And again, I don't know how he does it because, like I said, running different teams, different leagues, I can't take it. Like you're talking about getting bounced by what production one player does, and you're out. It's so annoying. Like that bothers me. So I just don't do fantasy anymore, man. I can't.
This has happened to me twice now in my fantasy football career. This has happened to me twice where a single player decided the game.
Mm-hmm.
It happened when I played against Christian McCaffrey probably 2 years ago, where he went off. Like he had 55 points, something just absurd. And I was like, no matter what my team did, like just himself gave such a huge boost that it literally like all the rest of the players just had to do 10 each or something like that, and they win. So now it's happened to me in the playoffs, and one of the most uncommon athletes in the league. Don't get me wrong. I love Kyle Pitts as a player. I think he is underutilized, and it just goes to show you what he did. this week to have not one, two, he had 3 touchdowns, 166 receiving yards. I mean, yeah, even though my team did great,
Mhm.
had 149 points, because of him, he gave that team such a boost when he normally doesn't. Normally, the last 2 weeks he's averaged 15 points. If that continues, I win the game. Like
Mhm.
but instead he scored 45. So it's
Yeah.
like it's one of those things. Just like Iggy said, no matter how well your team plays, sometimes it doesn't matter.
Yep.
The other team supersedes it.
Yeah, and he could play matchups too and everything. Take it all into consideration. Wonder if anybody is that desperate that they needed Philip Rivers this week, right?
Oh, I got a story about Philip
All
Rivers.
right. Yeah, sure.
So here's the funny part. So when Philip Rivers got announced that he was coming back, right? He signed a deal, and then everything was trending towards him starting this past week. And I'm like, ah, who cares? It's Philip Rivers. Like, I'm not going to add him to my team. Sure enough, somebody added him right away. Sure enough, it's somebody who doesn't need a quarterback, doesn't even need to pick him up. It was one of the players in our league. He's the number 1 seed, and quite honestly, has one of the toughest, if not the toughest, team to go against. The guy averages 150 a week. It's insane.
Mhm.
And he picks up Philip Rivers just for the hell of it,
For the
just
hell of
because
it.
he's like. So I asked him, I was like, "Hey, bro,
Um,
like, what are you doing? Why'd you pick up Philip Rivers? You already have like 2 other quarterbacks on your roster." He's like, "Oh, I just wanted to take him just so no one else could grab him if they needed a quarterback." And I'm like, "You really think he's going to be that much of a difference maker?"
right.
So sure enough, like in fantasy wise, he didn't really do much. Like
Yeah.
he did okay, but he didn't
Mm.
do much. So it was one of those weird things where like I'm like, no one's gonna be picking this guy up, but sure enough, he got picked up.
That's funny. That's funny. All right. So the real reason we're here to talk though too is fun talking fantasy football.
Yeah,
Whenever
yeah,
Iggy's on, I mean, you
for
guys
sure.
definitely have to like when he's on, you guys have to jump on here. Like we gotta
You get
promote that better or
listen,
something. Like whenever he's on there, you guys have to be up here in the chat asking your questions because it's crunch time right now. It's playoff time.
yeah.
It's getting closer to the chip. It's week to week. You know what I mean?
Not
It's
even
where friendships are destroyed and and things are going down. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
it
just crazy. So
Jim, it's not even the fact that when we get Iggy on, he just drops so much knowledge, whether it
yeah,
be betting, whether it be fantasy, IDPs in the fantasy world.
yeah.
But man, I gotta say, like he's a untapped source. So if you guys are not commenting in the comments to
Yeah.
ask fantasy football questions when he's on,
Mm.
you're just doing yourself a
Yeah.
disservice.
Yeah. I learn
Honestly.
something new about him every week too. I didn't know he's rides a Zamboni, doesn't care about the NHL. I mean, that is
Yeah.
ridiculous, bro. I'm wondering if like when he got on and talked to us, if he seriously only had like the 30-minute period to make it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like the game of the ice, face off was at 9 or something. And he only was like, I gotta make sure I get this in within this period because I gotta go out there and do the ice, you know what I'm saying? And ride that bad boy. So that would have been interesting if we're FaceTiming or whatever while he's on the
Yeah.
Zamboni, going
Oh,
around the rink.
you know what would be great? Yeah. Him
Take us
driving the
for a ride,
Zamboni and
Iggy.
we're live.
Yeah, that would be amazing. All right, all right. So, like I said, let's get to the reason we're here. It's playoff time again.
It is playoff time, bud.
Now the Broncos are in, the Rams are definitely in,
Mhm.
and now there's the rest. It's shifting all around.
Right.
Chiefs are out now, and not only just out of the playoffs, but now Mahomes. That stinks too for a game where now it's down to that, and then it's pretty much that game was already over,
The
and
game was over and
he goes down with a torn ACL. So I mean,
that's
major
not
injury to come back from. I mean, at least for he's going to be shut down for the rest of this season. We'll see him next week. But now there's a lot of different questions around this franchise to where a lot of people are saying that the dynasty's done now. Travis Kelce's going to walk off into this sunset or whatever. So what do you think of the Chiefs here, Joe, in that situation there, them on the outside?
that's just the tip of the iceberg too. It's not just an ACL. It's an ACL, an LCL, and a PCL. Like he damaged all 3 ligaments.
That's
So
crazy, man.
he's
Give
going
it
to
to
be
the
out.
NFL to learn more about those, knees.
He's going to be out for
things,
at least 9 months.
Mhm.
And with that much damage, he had successful surgery to, be upfront about it. So that was expected. Had surgery in Dallas, Texas. Everything's all good. But now he's got a long road to go to heal his injuries, to rehab, and come back. And they're saying that he's probably pinpointing about September-ish to come back. So basically, right when the season starts. I
Mhm.
don't know if that's going to happen, to be honest. Like, this guy's got to get his full range of mobility back. And who knows how explosive he's going to be now. By having that injury and recovering from it, not every athlete comes back the same.
Yeah.
There's a little bit taken out of you, a little bit less of a burst, a little bit less of acceleration. So, um, that's going to be a critical thing for the Chiefs to monitor.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're going to be working with him throughout the offseason. But for the Chiefs overall and what the direction is, I got to be honest. Like, I expected, honestly, I expected the Kansas City Chiefs to return to prominence this year after getting back Rashee Rice,
Mhm.
after getting back Malcolm Brown healthy, after having everybody back healthy. There should have been no excuses. They even draft a left tackle in Josh Simmons, who seemed to be the promise, the golden child at left tackle. And obviously, we all know about Jawan Taylor. That guy's
Yeah.
just an absolute sieve. But they got that contract to deal with. So anyway, for the Chiefs, I really thought that they were going to kind of be one of those contenders, not just a playoff contender. I thought they were going to be a Super Bowl contender, to be honest. And the defense played well. That wasn't the problem. It was the offense. Surprisingly enough, a Andy Reid led offense did not show up this season.
Mhm.
And I don't think I don't know. It's hard to say with Andy Reid because I think he's one of the best, if not the best, offensive minds in football, and let alone head coach currently. But
Mhm.
also, it's the way this offense was led by Patrick Mahomes. Like, there was numerous times where you're expecting Mahomes magic, and you got Mahomes, the maniac,
Yeah.
who was forcing the football sometimes, airmailing it over receivers' heads, throwing it at their feet, not reaching them at times. And I know it's not all his fault, but at the same time, there was a little bit of regression from Patrick Mahomes. So what's to say, like, will this continue now having a major injury that he's got to come back from? Is he going to be the same going into next year? Is this injury now? It was bad enough the season that he had, but now you have an injury to come back from going into next year. You got to kind of try to do as best you can to forgive and forget last season and come out and try to return back to form that the Chiefs fans are used to.
Yeah, I mean that's what you didn't see this year. It was not looking the same. The offensive line, with how bad Jawan Taylor is, he got injured, a bunch of different injuries. So then last time that happened was right around when they made their one Super Bowl run. They get to the playoffs against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the same type of stuff kind of happened. Mahomes had to try and do Mahomes things, wasn't exactly getting it done on his own, and he got injured. And this is what happened in this game, too. The same type of stuff. Travis Kelce hasn't been the same type of dude in the last 2 seasons. His production has dropped. And when you saw him, like we talked about it last week, after that game, you see he's defeated. And, I think he's just checked out now, even though, he did get some production a little bit last week. Still not enough. He's kind of like that check down guy for him. I mean? He's not an
Gardner
explosive
Minshew,
player for them. And now you've got Gardner Minshew, like you talked about with
check down Charlie.
with Gilbert, with Iggy Gilbert. Gardner Minshew isn't the answer here for you guys, ladies and gentlemen, to do anything. And it's the end of the season, so now it's evaluation time.
Mm-hmm.
See who's staying and who's going for the Chiefs, because at this point they've got to evaluate some of the younger talent that they have, some of the older talent and what they're doing and who they're moving on from, and trying to just retool here. I don't think they're going to be doing a full rebuild, but I think they
No.
have enough to retool with Patrick Mahomes coming back. We'll see what that has done to him. You know, we've seen guys get bounce backs from injuries like that too, but how mobile will he be? And if you take that from him, just like when we talk about Lamar Jackson,
Mhm.
that is what makes them great. And when you take some of that away from them, it takes away from their greatness or with their ability to do what they're doing and what makes them special.
Yeah,
And
you
you're
take
seeing that.
away the unpredictability that is Patrick Mahomes.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong. He can make all the throws.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah.
has one of the
Mhm.
strongest arms in the league,
Yes.
and he's accurate. Like, he's not stupid. He comes up with these clever ways to make a play work, even when it breaks down. And, like, what it looks like this offseason is there's not so much changes, really. It's gonna be pretty much the same exact team returning next year.
Yeah.
When you look at Travis Kelce, though, there's a decision that has to be made. Now, maybe it's both on the organization side and Travis himself. He was in a contract year this year. Is he going to get another extension? If I'm the Chiefs organization right now, I'm not extending him. There's a reason why you gave a 3-year extension to Noah Gray, who's been waiting in the wings to get his opportunity to take over that tight end spot. The guy who literally runs like a wide receiver, even though he's built like a tight end, is crazy. So give him his opportunity next season. Move on from Travis. And Travis,
Mm.
if you want to continue playing football, you're going to have to go play with a losing team. Honestly, like, you're going to have to sign a 1-year deal somewhere that they need help. So I think for the Chiefs, like you kind of alluded to, Jimmy, it's time to not change the roster, but maybe kind of tweak it in a sense to move on from the guys that are not making those big impact plays anymore. Like Travis, it's time for him to go. Let Noah Gray flash and show what he can do. So that's what I kind of envision. I don't think there's going to be too much change. The only other thing that I could see for the Chiefs organization is they need another like big time pass rusher. Like, George Karlaftis, as much as I love the guy, I think he's good. He needs help. Like, he needs another, uh, maybe even a speed rusher, a guy that can just really rip off the edge and create problems and chaos on the opposite end. But that's what I feel like those are a couple of things that I think they really need to work on. They could do that just through the draft. We
Mhm.
got a draft coming up. They can add those positions, and I feel like the Chiefs should be just fine. It's just going to be a matter of how much better or can Patrick Mahomes, excel versus what he did this season.
Absolutely, Joe. So we're talking the playoff picture right now. I think it would be fun to talk about who's hot, who's not right now into the playoffs. Because
Yeah.
we've talked about these teams to exhaustion, even and up and down and how they're moved, but the lineup has pretty much stayed where it's at. They're shifting around like we've talked about to Packers in a rough loss here against the Broncos the other night. That was,
Mhm.
devastating for them. Again,
Oh
dropping
my
them
God.
back
What a game.
into
What a
yeah,
game.
it was. That was one
What
of
a
the games too.
game.
I'm up, I'm like watching with one eye. I'm like, it's still going. I'm like, oh, here we go,
It's
and
still
yeah, it was just, it was tough because I was rooting for the Packers the whole way. Looking at the teams now that are technically all in the hunt now at this point,
Mhm.
Patriots lose to the Bills in a crusher here.
A letdown.
Yeah, a letdown. You could have totally punched your ticket right there. You were winning. You were dominating that game,
21 nothing.
and all you had to do is seal it up. But you give Josh Allen a chance, and that's all you have to give him, and he goes off and running, and that's what he was doing. He was making not only the throws, but off and running to the races, reading the defenses, scrambling around. And the key to this offense, we've talked about it time and time again, is through the running game. James Cook, no matter how the Bills might have valued him when that contract was being discussed, how the fans maybe, valued him, he is a key value to your team. and he's got to be the guy to kind of, besides Josh Allen, their offense needs to revolve around him.
That's something that we've already talked about too. Like we'd said that not only is Josh Allen the key, the only reason why the Bills are winning is because of Josh Allen. Like if he doesn't have a really good game, they lose games. And it's point blank period. That's as simple as it is. And now Josh Allen has got all the confidence in the world with James Cook and what he's able to do on the ground and receiving. Because why? We talk about this in the offseason. There's no playmaking receiver still on this Bills team. They never really made a strong enough effort to get an X receiver opposite Keon Coleman. Because Keon Coleman, let's face it, the guy is literally a chains mover. He's a slot receiver that you're playing him outside. So because there's no playmaking ability, no big time playmaking ability, Josh Allen has to utilize his boy in the backfield, James Cook, in passing plays, in screens, option plays. Like it's to the point where like if James Cook can't run the ball, if Josh Allen struggles at all, this team is done. There's nobody else that can save them. The defense? Are you kidding me? The defense can't save them. They're lucky to get some of the plays that they did against the Patriots. And that's only because they had the lead. So they pinned their ears back. So I'm sorry. I'm still not convinced that the Bills are going to not only, I think they're going to make the playoffs, but I just don't know how far they're going to go. They could be one and done, as simple as that.
Yeah, because when you look at everybody in the playoffs here on either side, whether you look at the NFC or the AFC, each one of these teams have had their ups and their downs that are not like a solid team. Besides, you would say the Broncos and the Rams. Broncos, despite of what offense looks like at times, that defense is great, and they've really, had a huge winning streak and just dominated when they do. Rams, same thing. Besides a little hiccup here and there, surprise loss, Rams pretty much have been dominating throughout. So I'm not surprised that they're the top two teams right now moving forward.
Right.
But some of these other ones, I don't trust a lot of these. But I think one of the things we need to talk about when you're talking about hot and who's not, you got to give it to the Jags and what they've been doing. 5-game winning streak right now. Trevor Lawrence and what he's doing and how he's performing. We joked about it a few weeks ago when we said the Jags and what they do and what Trevor Lawrence needs to do. He needs to add that element of running to him. That's what makes him even a little bit more special here. It goes hand in hand with Travis Etienne too on top of it. And this past game was the epitome of it all. But he opened up in the passing game throwing 5 touchdowns, 0 picks, and 330 yards, but also 51 yards and 1 touchdown. That's a career high game right there for him. And he made NFL history in that. The past 4 weeks of week 14, 244 yards, 229 and 13 in 2012, 256 passing yards too. And the key is his touchdown to interception ratio. When we talked about Trevor Lawrence, the issue was always, okay, can he play clean though? Can he not turn the ball over? By him running, opening things up, it takes the defense to stop and look, and maybe he's going to take off. So they pull off of that instead of reading him where he might throw it. Then he's able to make even some more throws on the run. His turnover efficiency has been incredible, very efficient, and he's boasting a 9-0 touchdown ratio to interception over the final 3 games of this last stretch here. So playing at a great level, and that's what's helped push these guys into the playoffs further.
Playing at a great level, but I need people to temper their expectations with this Jaguars team. I know they had a huge, dominating win against the very strong Jets, right? Like, this is a team that is one of the worst defenses, one of the worst run organizations, and terrible offense that they run. Yeah, they were expected to dominate them, and they did. And kudos to them because they're supposed to. But you're going to face a much tougher opponent this week. This is going to be the true test when they play the Broncos. They're going to play one of the better defenses in the league, and then we're really going to see just how much better this Jaguars team as a whole has gotten with the leadership and offensive mindset of Liam Cohen. Like, for him taking over the job as head coach has literally turned this offense around and team on how he makes his coaching decisions. And also, you see the defense thriving because the offense is having success, and just really recent success. So, can they continue the momentum that they've built up to this point going into the playoffs? If they can get the win against the Broncos, I will say this: I will no longer defy them. I will no longer say that they are just a kind of like a mirage. They're just
Mhm.
make believe, and they're just kind of tricking everybody until they come down to earth. But this week will prove that.
Absolutely. So not only when we're talking about the team and what they're doing, and a lot of these teams into the playoffs, when you talk about awards that are going to be at the end of the season too,
Mhm.
there's a lot of new head coaches here that are probably up for coach of the year, that it could be
Right.
either one of these guys. You look at Liam
Yeah.
Cohen, what he's done here with the Jags. You look
Right.
at, Ben Johnson and what he's done with
Mhm.
the Bears. You look at Mike Vrabel, what he's done with the Patriots. I mean, these coaches too, and how they've turned these franchises and these teams around quickly too within a season.
Mhm.
It's pretty amazing stuff too. So I think that competition is going to heat up as well.
But you also gotta know too, is that just proves to you that it was coaching was the problem all along until that new regime got in place. Because there's a lot of bad coaches out there. There's also some really good coaches that just are waiting for the opportunity. And that's what you've seen with Chicago with Ben Johnson. Everybody already knew he was an offensive minded guy, but now we're seeing a guy who not only is calling the plays and has literally vastly improved Caleb Williams and his playmaking ability, but also has changed the team entirely as a head coach in his decision making. So, I mean, not for nothing, but that just goes to show you that they already had talent, but now with better coaching, they're able to supersede what they were able to do in the past few years. So, kudos to all those new coaches that are making a huge difference. Liam Cohen included, obviously Vrabel with the Patriots. You know what he's done, and it's interesting because we always talk about these, we talk about MVPs, right? We talk about like, oh, who's going to be the MVP? Is it these new coaches that are making this much difference and stuff? And it's interesting because there's a couple of guys that on one side of it, you hear Drake May and everyone's like, oh, Drake May's got to win the MVP, that he's got to be winning the race. But then on the flip side of it, there's another quarterback that kind of has gone vastly under the radar. And I found this stat, and I gotta tell you guys, Drake May's odds to win the MVP have shrunk to 18% after this past week's
Wow.
performance. He is now below both Matt Stafford, right? That's
Mhm.
legitimate, makes sense. Matt Stafford has a 67% chance right now, and Bo Nix now has 29% chance for the award. So Bo Nix, who has
That's
kind of been under the
crazy.
radar, who's kind
Mhm.
of been, um, I guess, like for a better phrase, is just he's just kind of not been that guy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Everyone
Yeah.
kind of looks at him and says, "Oh, well, he's kind of like a manager. He's not
Mhm.
really asked to do too much." Well, he played pretty darn well against the Packers. Definitely proved a lot of the naysayers wrong in that game. Can he continue to do that now? Will Sean Payton continue to call an aggressive game like he did against the Packers? That's going to be intriguing.
Yeah, and when you look at the other teams that are out here too, I think some of the teams that grind the games out might have a good shot to go all the way as well. And I'm talking about like what the adversity the Chargers have even gone through, right?
Mm,
Oh, I
true.
just fucked that up. But yeah, the offensive line woes, right? The different injuries that they've had. You have the injury to Justin Herbert. Wide receivers, they had some, but they had to go and bring Keenan Allen in, somebody familiar for them,
That was a legacy signing. Let's
right?
be honest.
But now here they are in the playoffs. They're the 5th seed right now. They just
Mhm.
knocked out the nemesis, the Chiefs,
Yep.
and they're winning by grinding out games,
Mhm.
toughness. And I think that's another attribute that a championship team has going into the playoffs. So I think the Chargers have a good shot moving forward into this one too, and how they've grinded out games as well.
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh, that's the game style he loves. Like he loves those tough, physical, nasty, down to the wire, bleed the clock dry and score at the end of every single drive. Like that's just how he likes it. And honestly, they love to play that physical role, but also they can flip it on the other side. And with Herbert, they can also sling the ball if they need to. So it's been a very dangerous offense. Obviously, with the lack of their starting offensive lineman that they don't have in the lineup, it does hurt them a bit. But they're still able to be physical, to run through defensive lines, and with the fact of Amarian Hampton coming back now,
Mm.
healthy as ever, he's looking really, really good for them. So they have him, they have Kamani Vidal to lean on, they have all the receivers at their disposal. They have Aronde Gadsden, who's kind of emerged as their number one tight end out of nowhere this year. So they got a lot going for them, and the defense is playing really good, solid football. No real big mental mistakes, no, miscues on the back end with communication. So you're really seeing a hard fought team hitting their stride, even despite the injuries, they're hitting their stride, gonna make the playoffs, and who knows what happens. All you got to do is make it. Once you make it, it's a whole new season, and it's got to be super exciting for Charger fans who have been dying just to get there. And now the opportunity is there.
Mhm. Mhm. And now the Steelers, for me, that's gotta be the team that just isn't hot for me. They're on the not side just because their temperature's just lukewarm. They're good, but not that good, and they're just kind of getting by in some of these games. You have the Miami Dolphins who played them hard. They're trying to play spoiler here and win. It was a boring game early on, like
Oh,
nobody's scoring. It was ridiculous.
terrible.
And you're talking about a playoff team, a team that needs to do something moving forward. And I like a good defensive game, but you need to score points to win in this league. What's going to happen when you go against a Josh Allen, the Chargers, the Patriots, what they're doing? These teams are going to try and airball it on you here. And the Steelers just keep getting older by the minute. Aaron Rodgers, his idea of, well, these young wide receivers aren't getting the message sometimes, or there's confusion. Just, hey, bring in another old guy. I can trust that old guy. I can trust this old guy. He's got experience. He's got experience over here. But now you're looking at your team, and now the average age is like 38, right? And you can't win like that. You need to get younger to win in this league. You need to work together. You need to change on your end, Aaron Rodgers, and maybe teach these young guys, tell them what they did wrong. Bold as a team, not just turn the clock back and, hey, there's the good old boys. I can trust him. He's been in the league a long time. I know what he can do, and this and that. It doesn't spell like a victory for me. I don't see the Steelers even clinching at this point in their division. The Ravens now destroying the Cincinnati Bengals last week on the move. They can take on the Steelers here, and I can see the Steelers dropping out of this one.
Yeah, and that might exactly be what, get tips over the cup, so to speak, with Mike Tomlin. And that could be the deciding factor. We've debated it on this show before about, is it Mike Tomlin's time to go? Well, honestly, if this dude does not make the playoffs, he's lock it up. It's done. He's out. Like Pittsburgh is going to look to make a change there, and see what they can do in the upcoming season, because this team, like, they've had a good run of bringing in veterans and getting away with it, and kind of being successful with that kind of, you know mental capacity of how to build a team and how to continue to grind and win. But I gotta say, Jim, you're right. It has to be a good mix of vets and youth.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that kind of equal balance, it throws it off. Now, here's the thing: is the season is long in itself. And now you're trying to fight your way to the playoffs, which just extends that season much longer. Very rigorous. Physically, you're going to be in pain. You're going to be sore. And when the older you get, your body doesn't hold up as well. And Rodgers will tell you that because the dude is sore every week. So even if he goes into this game, this next game that he's going to be playing, I bet you he's still sore from last week. So and that's the thing, is you're seeing a team that's kind of just getting by based off experience, but it's not going to be enough when you need to make big time plays. I do like Jalen, what's his name? Jalen Wright, the running back, or Jalen Warren.
Jalen Warren. Yeah.
I like him a lot, and that is a good decision that the Steelers made, promoting him to be the starter, not re-signing Najee Harris this past offseason. So you see a little bit of it here and there in Pittsburgh, but just not enough.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, there's my who's not on the AFC side of the ball. Let's take a look at the NFC side, Joe. Who's hot in your eyes here in the NFC?
The NFC, it's funny, right? Like the NFC has kind of been a little bit of a murkier water, and it's not just NFC; it's also AFC. But for the NFC, it's like Rams hands down has the best team, no doubt, right? But then it goes to, well, who's struggling right now? Like the Packers to me are up and down. Like they missed an opportunity by not beating the Denver Broncos. And I got it. It makes me wonder now. Whenever they play tougher competition, they seem to they're right there in the thick of things, but at the end of the game, they're coming away with an L. And that can't happen. You got to be able to handle these tough physical games and come out with W's. So the Packers to me are not solidified. Like they're good. They're a good team. Don't get me wrong. They are a young team. They got a lot to work with, but I got to be honest. Like the Packers are one of those teams. The Detroit Lions. I continue to say it every week. Dan Campbell's got to stop calling plays. I'm sorry. He is a problem. Not like he always picks the wrong play, but it's also the way he's calling these games where when you should be throwing, he's running the ball because he has Jahmyr Gibbs and thinks that Jahmyr Gibbs is always going to get 10 yards. Like, it's not attainable. You can't continue to do that and depend on guys. If the run game's not working, you got to do play action. You got to just throw the ball, but you got to mix it up. I just don't see enough of variety of good play calls in a single series from Dan Campbell. And a lot of times he hurts himself calling these plays. Give the playbook back to the offensive coordinator that was doing it in the beginning of the season, and let's see what you guys can do. So, like the Detroit Lions, even though they're one of those teams that are on the cusp of making the playoffs and all that, they're another team that they came into the season as being darlings and favorites. And right now, I'm just not really sure.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of questions along those lines too for them. For me, if I look at a team that's kind of quietly doing it and it's just consistently as performed, and I think is maybe a sleeper team at this point, you got to look at the 49ers and what they're doing. Despite injuries, again, grinding out games. You had Mac Jones for a series of games. Now you've got Brock Purdy back in. He was a little rusty coming in, but now it seems like he's got some swag. He's moving around and he's making some plays and getting it done. And you've got the rest of the gang getting healthy. You know, Jennings now is getting some more touchdowns here. Kittle's being more involved in the offense, which I thought was always missing for, I'd say, the last season. You know, I would say, you know, even despite his being injured, they weren't getting him involved like I think they should enough, especially without having, you know, Debo there. You know, he's got to be a key factor for you because not only as a blocker, a run blocker, but in the passing game, it's ridiculous there. What he's doing, he's a mismatch on a linebacker, whoever, you know what I'm saying? So you got to get him involved there too. And Christian McCaffrey, he was on your list of MVP rankings that just quietly not getting looked at for all around yardage, receiving, running too. They're averaging only 101 yards rushing per game and ranked 25th, but 100 yards of rushing a game is good compared to a lot of these other teams out here. And also in third down conversion, they're 49% here still, so which is pretty good and pretty efficient here in third down compared to the rest of the league. And that key on the defense, Robert Saleh, getting that defense going with the talent they had lost, with the injuries to Fred Warner, the injury to Nick Bosa, 8th in the NFL and allowing 20 points per game. So, I mean, it's ridiculous what they're doing here. And with Kyle Shanahan, he's done it before. I am really high on these guys, and I think they could take it far here in this playoffs.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's a team that, we kind of alluded to a couple weeks ago of one of these teams that we could see as a team that was initially out of the playoffs and could fight their way in. Now they're kind of in right at the moment. They're gonna be in there as long as they don't kind of drop the ball and lose the next 3 games or something like that. I think they're going to be a lock. I think they're one of those teams, and again, much like the Chargers, where injury riddled at times throughout the whole entire season. Juwan Jennings missed time. Ricky Parasol missed a lot of time. You think back to, even George Kittle missed a lot of time as well this season. So once he returned and everybody knew he was healthy, he made a huge impact. And then you're starting to get healthier as you get closer to the end of the season. That's just a perfect storm for the 49ers right now. They're getting healthier, more on the offensive side than the defensive side, obviously, but still a team that is competitive, is tough to knock out. And honestly, they're going to be one of those teams that happen this week. They can solidify their spot. There's 9 teams that can clinch playoff spots in week 16. 4 of them don't need any help, by the way, to win and they're in, so to speak. And one of those is Seattle. And on Thursday night, they win, they're in. The Eagles can clinch the division Saturday. The Patriots a playoff spot on Sunday night, and the 49ers a playoff spot they can clinch Monday night with a win. So there's 4 teams that can lock it up without having to worry about any other teams winning or losing. They win, they're in.
Yeah, and they're interesting games, Joe. You look at the remaining schedule for these guys. You've got the Rams and the Seahawks that everybody is excited to see. That is going to be a showdown because you got to, if you're the Rams, you want to take these guys down.
Take them out.
You have to.
Take them out.
The thing is, sometimes when these teams are like, oh, we're already in the playoffs, we punched our ticket. Who cares? This game.
You don't want your rival there.
You don't want your rival there. You want to also keep that number 1 seed there to really punish these guys. Don't allow them in there and what they're capable of. The one thing about the Seahawks is they're one of my teams that is not really hot right now. The last couple of games, the offense hasn't been going. Their rushing game is just not been good at all. They failed to establish the run. Kenneth Walker III having season lows in carries in yards in one game and 3 yards rushing in the first half. I mean, and Jackson Smith-Njigba, he's been their guy, but he dropped a couple passes last week, and that was crucial for them. Not saying that now they're losing just because of him or anything like that. Sam Darnold's still been playing well. He's still doing his things despite their struggles, but it's not turning into points. Last week, they scored, on all field goals and stuff. Like, how many field goals was it? It was just crazy. They couldn't get it against a team.
Yeah, I think
the Colts are a good team, but you did it against a Philip Rivers team that you knew the game plan was just to run the ball with Jonathan Taylor.
That game ended 18-0.
Yeah.
Like, it was all field goals. So basically the game ball, we all know where the game ball went. It went to your kicker.
Yeah.
But that's not a good thing. It's terrible. You have to be able to score touchdowns. You can't go through a whole entire game. I'm not saying they got to put up 30 points, 35, 34 points in touchdowns. Like, you got to be able to score a couple touchdowns, maybe, you know what I mean? At least, like, to make it interesting
and get it going early, Joe. The last couple of games, in 3 straight games, the offense was only scoring 6 points in the first half for 3 straight games. You can't, if you're a playoff team, you're going to get cooked on that. You cannot do that in come playoff time. So for me, they're on that down tick where you don't want to be right now in the playoffs. And they have the Rams they have to play. You have, the Panthers right now who are playing pretty good too. I mean, they're playing some tough inspired football, so they can sneak into here. So, it's going to be interesting at the end here.
Yeah, we called it. We called it beginning of the year when the first 4 weeks went by, and we're like, "What is this NFL that we're watching?" We could never pinpoint just how good or how bad a team was. I mean, obviously, except for the obvious ones, right? But and then throughout the middle part of the season, we're like, I don't get what's happening. How is Carolina beating the Rams? That just doesn't make any sense to me. That not even logical at all. Roster wise, that there's no excuse the Rams lose that game. But then you saw that happen over and over with other teams, and it's just like it makes you scratch your head. You don't know how to figure out what team is what. And that's why we're at where we're at now, towards the end of the season. We're still looking for a definitive answer on what each team is, who's going to be the dominating team, but it's any given Sunday.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this game great right now.
Yeah.
Is we just are not 100% sure. When you think you know, you don't know.
This season especially. This season is so crazy. I think the most intriguing team in the playoffs right now is the Bears, because their remaining schedule is nuts. And from there moving up spots, especially with, a big win last week, the Packers losing, they moved up to the 2 seed, but now they've got to play the Packers this week, a divisional rival, and who is in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
Then you've got the 49ers, and the 49ers in their home. Then after that, for the last game of the season, a divisional rival, the Detroit Lions. So that game, whether the Lions are still in it or they're out,
right,
has implications. So whether the Lions have a chance to jump in here and get in here and knock the Bears out, or they can kind of play spoiler too and knock them down or wrong and potentially out of the playoffs too, or just a lower seed at this point. So that game will have implications. They have a tough schedule the last 3 weeks to where they can go like this, or they can just tank. I mean,
nosedive.
I'm not sure. So it's very intriguing what the Bears are doing right now. So for me, if they can stay and win and do this and have that second seed, then oh my goodness. And I think you maybe got to give the coach of the year to Ben Johnson at this point, what they did and how he's turned that team around just like that. But if they happen to lose and fall and do whatever at the end of this and kind of wash out, I still have to give them kudos of what they've done this season. And you have to look at it as a total success.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing too, is I do not want to be a voter when it comes to these awards, because this season has been super difficult to kind of pick who exactly you like for each one, like head coach of the year award. You got the MVP race, but like some of the guys that are just not being considered for it is atrocious. It's terrible. Jackson Smith and Jibba should definitely be talked about. Christian McCaffrey should be in that conversation. Like there's non-quarterbacks that really do deserve to be in this voting process. And so far, it's only been quarterback talk. It's only been that.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. So it's easy to say that tune in, buckle your chin strap this Sunday, even
absolutely.
Saturday.
Yeah, even Saturdays now it's going to be
because
absolutely.
Now that college is over, pretty much. I mean, we still got the bowl games to watch, but now it kind of opens up things for the NFL schedule for them to have Saturday games now. So it's going to be a doozy, folks.
Yeah, they're about to take over. So one more team for me, I think, is on a downhill turn too, and kind of entering the playoffs in the wrong direction, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You got to admit what's going on with them, right? How they played the last couple of weeks. Fourth quarter collapses. Week 15, they lost to the Atlanta Falcons, squandered a 14-point fourth quarter lead. Todd Bowles called the collapse inexcusable, which it is, and now we're looking at him. Now maybe he should be on the hot seat for, what's going on with them. Penalties. And he brought it up too in the broadcast too. Offense, consistent penalties here, false starts, holding calls, killed the drives, overall execution issues that have been a theme throughout the season here. Special teams been a problem to us as well. So a lot of missed opportunities for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're losing to teams like the Saints. You lost last week, a game you should have won against a divisional rival again, the Falcons. So Falcons are happy to take you out of this. They have nothing to lose out of this whole thing, and it only helps the Panthers. They're lucky the Panthers weren't able to get it done here against the Saints team, who upset them even too now. So we'll get the Saints board on here after this. So the Buccaneers right now, for me, when you talk about who's not, they are going into this playoffs the wrong direction.
Yeah, you know what? And the crazy thing is despite all that, nobody wants to win this division. It seems like, the Panthers, like they're sitting pretty, but they're not out of the thick of things either. They need to continue to win games, and it's all predicated on Bryce Young. What can he do? I watched him this week. He looked terrible as a quarterback. And that's the thing, is the inconsistency of the Panthers might in fact blow up in their face, and they're going to not win the division. And it's going to be one of these other teams. It could be the Falcons, could be the Buccaneers. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even though everybody seems to be struggling in this South division, there's no clear-cut winner. It's going to take the rest of the games to decide that.
Absolutely. And like I said, we talked about this, where it's probably just Bryce Young holding his team back. If you put a couple of different quarterbacks in that position on that team, I think you're seeing different results. So, and they're looking for that guy. We talked about it with Iggy. They're looking for that guy other than Tet McMillan to get it done. And it seems like Coker's starting to step up out of the shadows here to make some plays for him. So that's big for them. But either way, out of that division, one of those division leaders is the one that's going to be able to make it in there. I don't think anybody's coming out of the first week of the playoffs, the wild card, with a win out of that one.
It's different, though. So if you make the playoffs, it's so different of a season. It's like the season got reset and you're starting all over again. Like it's a whole different type of environment. And I think depending on which team wins this South, a couple of them are ready for it and a couple of them aren't. So we'll see how that works out.
All right, that's it for the show tonight. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. We appreciate Iggy coming on, especially when he was at work and spent some time with us in between periods. Had to get back onto the ice in the Zamboni. So again, it was sweet just seeing that thing. And yeah, that would be great to take a ride on one of those things sometimes. So we appreciate him jumping on, talking some fantasy football. We've got a lot of great matchups this upcoming weekend. We'll be glued to the TV too, checking it all out. And next week, we'll be back with some more breakdown, some more talk about the craziness that has gone down, all the teams that moved up, moved down, the surprises, everything. And make sure you guys stick tight with that and join us on some of those live shows too. And Joe, tell them where they can find Grumblings Media and those live shows.
That's real simple. You go to YouTube and then you hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up while you're there, because why not? And don't forget to tell a friend, spread the word, share it to everyone that you know and love. Listen, we're the best interactive football talk show out there, and we want to prove it to you guys. Listen, we had a few comments tonight. We want to see more from you guys out there. Also, give us your opinions in the comment section down below about anything that we talked about. Who do you think is your team that might be falling out of the playoffs? Who do you think is that team that might be excelling and hitting the right stride right now? And also give us your MVP. Give us, all the award winners. Who's your coach of the year?
All right, that's it for us. We'll see you guys in the next one.